What up, guys? So many of you, so freaking many of you have been asking me, why am I cutting for so fucking long? Like why are you taking like over half a year just to get ready for fucking one day, for one show? So, I'm gonna take 5-10 minutes right now, clear everything up for you guys, and by the end of this video, you will hopefully have a complete understanding of why I'm taking this route. Okay, so first I'm gonna lay some context down so that it's kind of easier to understand where I'm coming from. And first off, damn. Okay, so why the fuck am I cutting for so long? And I just started cutting about a week ago, maybe a week and a day. So I'm like 1 week into a cut, and when I started, I was about 33 and 38 weeks out. So that leads me to my first point. I'm not just doing the competition against Chris Jones, okay? That's actually the second competition of the year. My first competition, at least I think it's my first. The first competition is actually in June. I think it's the second Saturday in June, and it comes out to be like June 11th, I believe. It's a Folsom NGA show. So you gotta remember, I have a competition that's 6 weeks before the competition with Chris Jones. So I have to be conditioned, I have to be diced 6 weeks before Chris Jones does. So remember that's just to lay it down of why I'm dieting for so long, okay? So now I want to cover the pros and cons of what I'm doing versus what I could do, right? Since a lot of you guys have been suggesting that I wait to cut. You know, I've heard people say, don't start cutting until March. Don't start cutting until 2013, January 1st. So taking that first suggestion, let's say I started cutting in March. I have March, April, May, June. I have 4 months, that's 16 weeks, right, to get to contest shape. Granted, a week ago I was 195 pounds. How heavy do you think I'd be in March? Okay, and it just depends, right? It depends how close I'm on my macros. Am I weighing everything? How flexible am I? Am I going to indulge in the Christmas and the Halloween and Thanksgiving festivities? It really depends, right? If I did everything perfectly to the best of my ability, let's just magically assume I was only 5 pounds heavier. That's 200 pounds, right? That probably wouldn't happen. Let's just say it. All right, I'd probably end up being at least 10 pounds heavier. So I'd be like 205 pounds starting in March. In 16 weeks, I'd have to cut about 50 pounds, give or take, 5 up or down. I have to lose 50 pounds in 16 weeks. Do the math. Divide 50 by 16 and see how much average I'd have to lose per week. Keep in mind, fat loss is not linear. It's not like I lose 3 pounds per week every single week. It's a curve, right? You're gonna lose, depending on how thick, solid, not tight you are, you're gonna lose weight like this. All right, let's say I was 300 pounds obese. I might be able to lose 4 pounds per week really easily, really easily. And then eventually it turns into 3 pounds per week, and then 2 pounds per week, and then 1 pound per week. And the closer and closer you get to 0% body fat, the less amount of weight you'll want to lose per week, and you'll probably end up losing per week. It works both ways because you're not gonna feel like you want to lose more weight. Plus, it's going to be harder to lose more weight. So there's different factors here. And that's if I started in March. I'd have 16 weeks to lose about 50 or so pounds. That's crazy as fuck. All right. Now, if you look at it from January, February, March, April, May, June, that's 6 months from January. And let's just say I was 200 pounds in January. If I did everything perfectly, once again, 6 months multiplied by 4, that's 24 weeks to lose how much pounds, right? Let's say I aim for 155 again, from 200 to around 200, about 45 pounds. 45 pounds, and I have what, 24 weeks? That's almost 2 pounds per week. And at first it might be great. Once again, I might lose 3 pounds per week, 3 pounds per week, and then 2, and then 2, and then 2. But then eventually it's going to become 1 pound per week, and so on. It's not going to be linear. So Granted, that's almost 2 pounds per week right there. That's kind of tough. That's kind of pushing it, right? So, what are the pros of bulking for 2 or 4 more months, depending on when I ended up doing it, right? If I ended up waiting until January 1st, let's look at the pros and cons seriously from like an objective standpoint. And I'm not even going to talk about my personal experience or my coach's experience until the end of this video. And I'm not going to say anything about Chris Jones's diet because, you know, that's his deal, right? I respect whatever he does. You know, he can do whatever he likes to do, whatever he wants to do, whatever his coach tells him to do, because whatever he does is literally going to have zero effect on my body and how it looks throughout my transformation and on stage and photo shoots, etc. Whatever he does has nothing to do with what I do. Just like when he said whatever I do has nothing to do with what he does. It has no bearing on each other. What we do, that's how bodybuilding works. It's not like if I'm more shredded, you know, he's going to be more muscular on stage. No. It has nothing to do with what he does. So keep in mind that. Pros for bulking for another 2 months. Let's say I bulked for another 2 months and I started this last week. Consider this, guys. I've been training for, this is my 6th year, right? How much muscle am I going to gain in 2 or 4 months? Law of diminishing gains, right? Well, gains. First year of training, you might put on 15 if you're genetically BBC'd. And then you might put on 12 and then 10. But most people, it's going to be like, you might put on an average of 10 your first 2 years, so there's 20 pounds. And then the next year, your 3rd year, you might put on like 6 or 5. And then 3 or 2. And then in your freaking 6th year of training, how much are you looking to gain, right? Naturally. I might be looking to gain like 3 pounds a year. 5 if everything was like perfect and the freaking stars aligned, right? If the stars were perfect in the universe, I might gain 5 pounds in a year. Granted, everything's perfect. My natural test is high. All my hormones are perfect. I'm not stressed. I get great sleep. But we're more so looking at like 3 pounds for a year. Divide that into months. How much am I going to gain in 2 to 4 months? If I waited 4 months, I might put on a pound. But if I started January 1st, I'm looking at less than a pound of muscle gained. Less than a pound. Keep in mind, depending on when I started this cut, had I waited, I might put on anywhere between 5 and 10 pounds of fat for less than 1 to 1 pound of muscle. That does not sound like a smart trade. Okay, that is not a good trade for anyone. It is not a good trade. Okay. What's another pro of bulking for another 2 to 4 months? I'll spend less time dieting. In a caloric deficit. Okay, you have to look at it like that. I'll be less time in a caloric deficit. But at the same time, I'm still going to have to be weighing shit out. Okay? If I don't weigh shit out, I'll end up gaining more weight than I wanted. I'll put on more fat than I wanted. So no matter what, it's like if I want to be optimal or whatever, whether I diet or deficit or not, whether I'm in a surplus or deficit, I'm going to have to weigh things out. That's just the way it is. So no matter what, I'm weighing shit out. I'll spend a little bit less time in a caloric deficit. Ooh, that's tough. But what are some of the negatives of bulking for 2 to 4 months? I got a lot of them. I have more body fat to lose. I'm going to have more fucking body fat to lose in less time. In less time. I'm going to end up being on less calories. I'm going to be on less carbohydrates. I may be doing more cardio. It could be a combination of all of that, okay? I'll be eating less food to make up for time that I didn't have. So I might gain 1/3 to a pound of muscle, 5 to 10 more pounds of fat, and have less time to burn off all the fat that I need to get down to anywhere between 150 and 160 pounds, okay? I might end up anywhere between there. I'm going to lose more muscle on my way down from being on a harsher deficit. I'm going to lose more muscle because this deficit will affect my performance. It's going to affect how much muscle I retain from being on a harsher deficit. Okay, I'll end up having more muscle retained and end up being more muscular had I start cutting when I did compared to bulking for longer. I'll lose more muscle if I try to diet harder for a shorter amount of time. It's as simple as that. And you also have to look at the psychological and emotional effects of harsher dieting. You know, I'm going to feel worse. I'm going to feel worse. Simple as that. I'm going to be more cranky. I'm going to be in the doghouse like 3 times more often than a less hardcore deficit. It's as simple as that. Those are all the negatives that come from this. Now, what are the positives to a longer cut? I'm going to have higher macros. Like, how awesome does that sound? I'm going to have higher freaking carbs, possibly higher fats, which I am right now. I'm having 65 fats compared to last year's 50. I'm going to have much more time to cut down to 4% body fat, since that's kind of the goal. 4 or 5% body fat, more like 4% body fat, but not. I'm not going to step on stage 6% body fat. I'm not going to step on stage 8% body fat. And you got to remember, like I said, the curve to fat loss. I'm going to reach 8% body fat like that. To take it to 6% body fat, it's going to take a long time compared to from when it took me from 12 to 8. And then to go from 6 to 4, that's going to take an even longer time. You got to look at it like that. It's not freaking linear. So I'm going to end up holding on to more muscle, have more strength, which to me sounds amazing. And even when the competitions are done, when I get back on a reverse diet, I'm going to have more muscle and more strength. I'm going to be in a better position to put muscle back on my frame. And one thing that's kind of overlooked is I'm going to have more flexibility with my dieting. Obviously, I want to be as precise as possible, but with more time, I can afford more flexibility, if that makes sense. Like, I can afford more screw-ups. Not that I'm intentionally trying to screw up here. Not that I'm intentionally trying to binge or anything like that, but with this longer dieting, I can afford to say, oh, okay, I'm going to go and eyeball these macros at sushi with my girlfriend and her mom. Okay, more of those kind of situations. Keep in mind, just because I'm dieting, my life isn't over. You know, I'm still working, doing YouTube videos, still hanging out with my girlfriend, and still spending lots of time with her and my family. And that's my life. That's what I love to do. I love to spend time with my girlfriend, her family, my family, do things with them, build my future, make money on YouTube. So it's like I'm not missing out on really anything. And by being more sane and having a higher metabolism, eating more food, I'm just going to feel better all around, most likely be less cranky. And I'm not saying that I'm not going to hit a point where I'm going to be on the edge, because eventually I will. That's just what happens when you get low body fat. But I'll be able to take a longer time to get to that point, and I'll just be able to eat more food, like I said, be more flexible and more sane in the process. And what are the negatives to a longer cut? I'm going to be in a caloric deficit for a longer amount of time. That's it. that's pretty much it. This doesn't ruin my Christmas. This doesn't ruin my Thanksgiving. And I'm going to end up, you know, granting those days to spend with family, so it's not like this is ruining my life really, since I'm cutting for a little bit longer. It's really not. So, on the back of this piece of paper, I wrote down, why do you want to get shredded in the first place? That was a kind of a point I wanted to come up with. A lot of people think that there's this scale that I'm working on, right? This scale of, okay, Matt, you're either going to be more muscular or more conditioned. And I can understand, right? It seems like it's that way. It seems like, okay, Matt, no matter what, you're going to lose muscle in replacement of more conditioning. Or you're going to be more conditioned and have less muscle. So, no. No. Doesn't work like that, okay? It's not a matter of me trying to be more conditioned than muscular. That's not what this is about in terms of my longer cut. And that's not what it's about for anyone in natural bodybuilding, really, to be honest. It's more so the fact that a longer cut will be able to help me be both more muscular and more conditioned. Okay, that's the way I look at it, and I'm sure that you guys can kind of see that now, that you don't really give up muscularity for conditioning. It's more so by giving yourself more time, you'll have more of both. By giving yourself less time, you will have less of both. And that's just the way it is. Okay? So, I hope that this covered some of your guys' questions about why I've already started cutting and why I'm not waiting until March or whatever. Granted, I was 33 and 38 weeks out. I was 195 pounds, trying to make my way anywhere between 150 and 160. That's the one thing I wanted to cover that I haven't yet. I'm sorry for tangenting and making a tangent here. Like, why do I want to make it to 155 pounds? The truth is, there is no goal weight here. We're going by, obviously, how I look. So if I happen to be super shredded at 165 pounds, it's like more power to me. I gain more muscle than I thought. I gain more muscle than my coaches thought awesome. And it's not like we're going to force me to 155 pounds for no reason. Okay? Once I'm at, 4% body fat or approaching 3% body fat, that's where I'm at. It's not like we're going to throw away muscle for no reason. If I'm ripped as fuck in May, I'm going to keep that. I'm not going to go and lose muscle for no reason, if that makes sense. So that's that. I might end up anywhere between 150 and 160 pounds. Coach, he thought 150 to 155. In my last contest season, on the protocol piece of paper, we wrote 160, but as you know, I ended up 155. And that's that. And I guess the one thing that I could still cover that I haven't yet, if you guys are still here with me, is experience, anecdotal evidence, so to speak, from other bodybuilders, from other naturals and all that. If you guys look at the people in the pro ranks who are competing every year, every other year, they usually don't get too heavy in their off season. They don't put on 40 plus pounds like I just did, right? They're generally like, they might reach 20 over in their off season, and then they'll take a lot of time just to lose that 20 pounds. They might take 20 or more weeks to lose just 20 pounds. And that's people at like the highest ranks, the highest, okay? To give yourself 1 pound per week, that's decent. For some bodybuilders, they might think that's not enough. For some other bodybuilders who are successful, they might think that's more than you need. But 1 pound per week, you can't lose off that. And granted, 33 and 38 weeks out last week, and I have about I had about 45 to 50 pounds to lose. Well, 45 to 55, depending on how you look at it. Wait, I'm going hella stupid right now. 195, it's about 155, 40 to 45 pounds, right? I had about 45 pounds to lose in just 33 to 38 weeks. And, a lot of the great, freaking well-known natural bodybuilders don't get as fat as me and give themselves more time to cut than me. And here I am, trying to just get a freaking pro card, and the pros out there are giving themselves more time than I am. It's like, that tells me something, definitely. Not to mention just the recommendation of my own coaches and their plan. It's backed. I think Alberto, in a post just maybe yesterday, he said that every time he starts his contest season leaner, he looks better. It is more conditioned, and he ends up that way. So he compared when he started dieting at 200 plus pounds to when he started dieting at 190-ish pounds to when he started dieting around 175. And every time he started leaner, he did better, it looked better, etc. And shit, even Ryan Doris was like, he was only like 17 pounds above his stage weight, and I think he gave himself at least 17 weeks. I think his was like 20 or 22 or something like that. But that's that. I gave you just a ton of reasons why I am cutting already. This is some serious shit for me, guys. This is serious. But granted, it's not super serious. I still have a fucking life. So, that said, peace out. A little bit of flexing. Oh, and another thing, one thing, and this is what I really stress for to anyone out there who else gets ripped for competitions. It's like, something about competitions is it's not all about, you know, being shredded just for that one day, or for my 2 competitions for 2 days. There's so much opportunity out there if you're shredded. Look at it like this. You can make transformation videos, right? You could do photo shoots. You can use your physique to your benefit. You could use it towards your company, etc. There's so many different uses for a ripped physique that people just don't think of or take advantage of. Some people do it better than others. Some people don't take advantage of it at all. So when it comes to cutting, it's not all about these competitions, but coming from a business point of view, you gotta maximize your gains. And this kind of comes from what I heard from Chris Jones' video. He's just talking to you. I mean, yeah, we're all getting ripped just for this one day, but believe me, you know how many subscribers are gonna jump onto this as we get more cut? You know how many opportunities is gonna open for us? I mean, I got a pretty big payment coming in every month just for my my 15-week transformation video, guys. There's so much opportunity out there. You just gotta kind of grab it, right? That's just advice. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. So, yeah, that's it. Peace out. Let me know what you guys think. Peace.
Hey, quit being a little bitch. Ogus cake.